Welcome to Advanced Clothing Construction. This is our lecture for week 1. In this class, you will be using your Sewing for the Apparel Industry textbook. To get your attendance credit in this class, you must watch the live lecture or the recorded version of the lecture by Tuesday night. You will also need to submit a short 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the lecture on My Course Connection. There is a link called Live Lecture Summary. And then you must also take part in the forum discussion each week by Friday. These are the 2 dates to remember. Tuesday and Friday, you need to have logged in a minimum of 2 times a week in order to stay off the drop list. Our topics this week, we will be talking about taking measurements for pants, constructing pants and installing a fly zipper in the front, how to alter pant patterns to get the perfect fit, talking about bands and cuffs, and dealing with alterations like hems. Your assignments this week that are due by November 1st, unless otherwise noted, which we do have a few of them in here. Your inspiration book sketches are due on Saturday. That's 3 sketches in there. Measurement activity, this will be due on Tuesday. You're taking measurements of your waist, hips, inseam, and outer side seam of your legs in order to get an idea of what pattern measurements to go by. You will make a muslin pattern pant by Friday. I'd like to be able to give you feedback on your alterations, and so that Saturday you can make any of those alterations to your sample muslin. In some very few cases you may have to reconstruct the pattern, but many times you're able to make that adjustment right on your muslin pattern. But do be aware you may need to sew up a second set. And installing a fly zipper in the front. Both of those are due on Saturday. Your band and cuff chapter questions, this is reading and review questions, those are due on Saturday. We have a hem activity that is under the alterations topic. It's due on Saturday. And your Pinterest board assignment due on Saturday. Well, let me discuss some of these a little more in depth. For your pant project this week, you will be using the pant pattern that was provided in your kit, muslin fabric, or like fabric for pants. Pretty much a cotton broadcloth. It really does not need to be printed. In fact, it's better that it's not, because you'll want to draw some grain lines and some level horizontal balance lines at the hip and the knee. This will help you in your fitting. A 7-inch zipper, any color will do. You're just practicing putting it in your muslin. And you will need a ready-made pair of pants to practice your hem for your alterations activity. Check with family or friends, see if any of them need a hem done. This would be a great opportunity. Maybe you could find a thrift store and pick up a pair for $4 or $5 or something and try it out there. Or maybe you have a pair in your closet that needs some alterations. And then your basic sewing supplies that were provided in your sewing kit. This is for the pants project this week. These supplies do not cover everything in the course. Here's some examples of someone wearing a pair of muslin pants that are used for fitting. And if you will note the line going down front and back, that's the grain line, as well as it helps to make sure you're centered on the legs. They have a hip, a crotch, and a knee level shown. This way you can find out if your posture is tilted or slanted one way or another, if those are angled off, and they give you indication as to where you would want to address some pattern alterations to make it a better fitting pant for you. Now, another thing assigned this week, but that is not due this week, is your design project. Very similar to what you did in intermediate sewing. You will create a Pinterest board for your dress inspiration images. The inspiration boards are due this Saturday. Next week, you will get into actually providing your sketch idea of the dress, your pattern analyzation and plan for your pattern development. I suggest that you look through the textbook for some ideas, perhaps stick close to some pattern manipulations shown in the book. Make a muslin of the dress design. At this point, I do want that turned in. That'll be week 2. To have the opportunity to give you feedback on that before you proceed into making any pattern changes or alterations for the final dress to be made out of fashion fabric. And that's due in your 3rd week, the one out of fashion fabric, as well as the illustration on your portfolio grade paper in color, ready to go into your portfolio. This is very similar to the project that you did in intermediate sewing, but being a dress, you've got the top and the bottom half to be dealing with. Think about the waist seam. If you include a waist seam, then you would just use these sloper patterns that you've already been provided for the size 8, having a top bodice and then some kind of skirt for the bottom. If you choose a dress design with no seam at the waist, then you will have to refer to your book on how to draft a dress torso sloper. This would add more steps to your project, but when you are done, you would have the torso sloper in your library of items so that future-wise you can also use it to develop patterns from. So it's really a choice of yours. Same thing with sketching up the dress. This way, I'd like to work with you. We'll have that due earlier in week 2 so that I have the opportunity to give you feedback and we can explore the plan of how you're going to make your pattern. Because I think a lot of you probably had some questions along the way, and last time with having everything due on the same day, you didn't have this staggered steps in order to gain back that feedback and work through different things together. On your course pages, this is a little bit of the same list that I just gave you there, but it does, this is what it looks like on my course connection for your design a dress project. This week, this was not a live lecture due to some problems with my recording conversion programs. I did an update with Java and it does not want to talk between the two programs. IT is going to be looking into that, and hopefully next week we'll be back on track with live lecture. But please do not hesitate to contact me via email, text me. If you really are at a pinch and don't know what to go forward with, you can call me also on my cell phone. We have iPads. We could Skype together. That way, if you have something that you've got questions about, you're able to show me right there through the video on Skype or FaceTime. Actually, I think it's FaceTime on iPads. That works really well altogether. But I know through this process and designing your dress, I hope you have questions. And then that way we can talk about that and things. So please remember that this week, write up a little summary on this lecture. Don't forget on Friday, you also have to partake in the discussion, or by Friday, and there is a second step to that for Saturday posting as well. You can log in and do that earlier in the week if you'd like. Remember, you have a minimum of 2 times to log in during the week, but I would imagine to get all this stuff done, you probably need to log in more than the minimum. That's a tongue twister. The minimum of 2. But that's all I have for now. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.